Let's cut to the chase regarding why Americans pay taxes. And this would also apply to any or every other country that is part of a central banking, Federal Reserve type system, the IMF, Bank of International Settlements, etc. The goal is to cut to the chase and keep it simple, but it's still going to require a bit of explaining on my part, and hopefully I do a good job conveying information. First, let's begin with our or my standard mantra or declaration that this is intended to inform and or entertain any who hear these words or the pressure or perturbations of the air that humans perceive as sound. And this would be to acknowledge the malevolent and benevolent deities, since they are all just doing as they are made or caused to be to this point in this age. And in turn, to state that I am not trying to change anything, but am rather only seeking to teach to help those who desire to understand what taxes are really about. I want to talk about this topic in snippets to try and make it easier to understand and retain. It's like math or languages where repetition is required to maintain understanding or to keep recall within easy reach. For instance, there are layers or degrees of understanding where the most basic level of understanding is to be able to hear and understand a concept while that interaction is occurring. Then a better level of understanding is to be able to recall that understanding at some later point. And then the best level of understanding is to be able to communicate that understanding to another person, explaining it, instructing, discussing it with another person. It begins with U.S. Code, Title 12, Section 411. And you can pull this up on the old internet, which states, Federal Reserve notes to be issued at the discretion of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System for the purpose of making advances to Federal Reserve banks through the Federal Reserve agents as hereinafter set forth and for no other purpose are authorized. The said notes shall be obligations of the United States and shall be receivable by all national and member banks and Federal Reserve banks and for all taxes, customs, and other public dues. They shall be redeemed in lawful money on demand at the Treasury Department of the United States in the City of Washington, District of Columbia, or at any Federal Reserve Bank. There are a lot of aspects to unpack, but regarding taxation, note the portion that states, and for no other purpose are authorized. Are you a Federal Reserve agent? No one is, right? Or very few are. And so we, the general public, who are not Federal Reserve agents, are not authorized to have Federal Reserve notes in our possession. And hence we pay a fee to use their private credit, aka notes. As I've heard it discussed, this is why the police or government will confiscate legal tender, aka notes, fives, 20s, hundreds, whatever, because the person, let's say a drug dealer, cannot prove or show they are a Federal Reserve agent, and therefore they are not authorized to be in possession of all those notes. And so those notes, or all those fives and 20s and $100 bills, are taken from them. Taxes are really a fee we pay to use this product or securities, aka notes, Federal Reserve notes, that is privately owned by the private corporation we call the Federal Reserve, the Federal Reserve System, through the Federal Reserve banks. It's akin to using someone's private property where one pays some kind of usage fee. That's really it. It's as basic as that. Just consider that as the Federal Reserve Act was enacted in 1913 and how the income tax was also enacted in 1913. Yes, because as FRN or Federal Reserve notes were issued to replace U.S. notes, meant or required the tax or fee because the public would begin to use what is as noted private property or private credit. In addition, just keep in mind the two main reasons for taxes. One, as noted, and this is the primary cause of taxes, being it's the fee we pay to use private credit, also known as FRN, Federal Reserve Notes. Two, it's just a mechanism to remove these FRNs from the so-called economy, what they call reducing the money supply. This is just a snippet, but understand taxes do not pay for anything, or at best, very, very little. If we had access to forensic accounting, we, anyone, everyone, could see that there is never or hardly ever a one-to-one taxes taken in and that tax being paid for something else or toward something else. People just assume that taxes X, Y, and Z pays for the fire department or schools, but no one actually sees where tax X, let's say equaling to $500 paid by Joe Public, Smith, or Anderson, or Gomez, actually pays $500 to school Jefferson or Kennedy or Lincoln, etc. It's actually like reason number one above, and it is a fee called a tax to use private credit. Okay, thank you for the time and have a good day.